Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome to today's reading from Sri Caitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 8, verse 25. We will begin our reading today from Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhete Girim Yat Kripa Tamam Vande Shri Gurum Dim Tarinam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Caitanya Ishwaram Hariyam Tatsam. देखिया ब्राह्मण गणेरा हैला चमत्कार वैदिका ब्राह्मण सब करेना विचार. When the stereotyped ritualistic Brahmins who were following the Vedic principles saw this ecstatic manifestation of love, they were struck with wonder. All these Brahmins began to reflect as follows. Text 26. Eita sanyasira teja dekhi brahma sama shudre alingiya kene karena krandana. The Brahmins thought, we can see that this sannyasi has a luster like the effulgence of Brahman, but how is it he is crying upon embracing a Shudra, a member of the fourth caste in the social order? Verse 27. E Maharaj Mahapandit Gambhira Sannyasira Sparshe Matta Haila Asthira. They thought this Rāmānanda Rāya is the governor of Madras, a highly learned and grave person, a Mahapandit, and upon touching the sannyasi he has become restless like a madman. Verse 28. E mata vipra gana bhave mane mana vijatiya lok dekhi prabhu kailas mavarana. While the Brahmins were thinking in this way about the activities of Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu, and Rāmānanda Rāya, Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu saw those outsiders and restrained his transcendental emotions. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Rāmānanda Rāya was intimately related to Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu. Therefore, he can be accepted as a Sajatiya, a person within the intimate circle of the Lord. The Brahmins, however, were followers of the Vedic rituals and were not able to have an intimate connection with Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu. Consequently, they are called Vijatiya Loka. In other words, they are not pure devotees. One may be a highly learned Brahman, but if he is not a pure devotee, he is a Vijatiya, an outcast, one outside devotional service. In other words, a non-devotee. Although Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu and Rāmānanda Rāya were embracing in ecstasy, the Lord restrained his transcendental emotions upon seeing the outsider Brahmanas. Verse 29. Sustha hena dunhe se sthanite vasila tabe hasi Mahaprabhu kahite lagila. When they regained their sanity, they both sat down, and Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu smiled and began to speak as follows. Verse 30. सार्वभौम भट्टाचार्य कहिला तुम्हार गुणे तुम्हारे मिलिते मोरे करेला यतने. Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya spoke of your good qualities, and he made a great endeavor to convince me to meet you. Verse 31. Toma mili bare mora etha agamana bhal haila anayase pailun darshana. Indeed, I have come here just to meet you. It is very good that even without making an effort, I have gotten your interview here. Verse 32. Rai kahe sarvbhauma kare bhritiya jnana paroksheha mora hite hai savadhan. Rāmānanda Rāya replied, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya thinks of me as his servant. Even in my absence, he is very careful to do me good. Verse 33. Tandra kripaye painu tumar darshana aji safala haila mora manushya janma. By his mercy I have received your interview here. Consequently, I consider that today I have become a successful human being. Verse 34. Sarvbhaume tumar kripa tar e jena asprishya sparshile hena tandra premadhina. I can see that you have bestowed special mercy upon Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, therefore you have touched me. Although I am untouchable, this is due only to his love for you. Verse 35. कहा तुम्ही साक्षात ईश्वर नारायण, कहा मुनि राजा सेवी विषयी Shudradhama. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan himself, and I am only a government servant interested in materialistic activities. Indeed, I am the lowest among men of the fourth caste. Verse 36. Mora sparshe na karile grihana, Veda bhaya mora darshan toma vede nishedhaya. You do not fear the Vedic injunction stating that you should not associate with a Shudra. You are not contemptuous of my touch, although in the Vedas you are forbidden to associate with Shudras. Purport in the Bhagavad-Gita 9.32, the Lord says, Mam hi partha vyapashritya ye api syuha papa yonayah striyo vaishyas tatha shudras te api yanti param gatim. O son of Pritha, those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth, women, Vaishyas, that's the merchants, as well as Shudras, that is the workers, can attain the supreme destination. The word Papayonaya means born into a low class. According to Vedic system of classification, women, Vaishyas and Shudras belong to a lower social order. A low life means a life without Krishna consciousness. High and low positions in society are calculated by considering a person's Krishna consciousness. A Brahman is considered to be on the highest platform because he knows Brahman, the absolute truth. The second caste, the Kshatriya caste, also known as Brahman, but not as well as the Brahmanas. The Vaishyas and Shudras do not clearly understand God consciousness, but if they take to Krishna consciousness, by the mercy of Krishna and the spiritual master, they do not remain in the lower castes, Papayonaya. It is clearly stated, Te api yanti param gatim. Unless one has attained the highest standard of life, one cannot return home back to Godhead. One may be a Shudra, Vaishya or woman, but if one is situated in the service of the Lord in Krishna consciousness, one should not be considered Stri, Shudra, Vaishya or lower than Shudra. Though a person may be from a low-born family, if he is engaged in Lord's service, he should never be considered to belong to a low-born family. The Padma Puran forbids Vikshate Jati Samanyat Sayati Narakam Dhruvam. A person goes to hell quickly when he considers the devotee of the Lord in terms of birth. Although Sri Rāmānanda supposedly took birth in a Shudra family, he is not to be considered a Shudra, for he was a great advanced devotee. Indeed, he was on the transcendental platform. Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu therefore embraced him out of spiritual humility. Sri Rāmānanda presented himself as a Shudra, Raj Sevi Vishayi Shudradhama. Even though one may engage in government service or in any other pounds, shillings, pence business, in short, in materialistic life, he need only take to Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is a very simple process. One need only chant the holy names of the Lord and strictly follow the principles forbidding sinful activity. In this way, one can no longer be considered an untouchable, a Vishay or a Shudra. One who is advanced in spiritual life should not associate with non-devotees, namely men in government service and men engaged in materialistic activity for sense gratification or in the service of others. Such men are considered Vishay, materialistic. It is said, Nishkinchaskanasya Bhagavad Bhajano Mukhasya Param Param Jiga Mishor Bhava Sagarasya Sandarshanam Vishainam Atha Yoshitam Cha Ha Hanta Hanta Visha Bhakshanto Api Asadhu. A person who is very seriously engaged in cultivating devotional service with a view to crossing the ocean of nations and who has completely abandoned all material activities should never see a Shudra, a Vaishya or a woman. Sri Caitanya Chandrodaya Natak 8.23. Verse 37. Tomar kripaye Tomaye karaye nindya karma sakshat Ishwar tumi ke jane tomar marma. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself, therefore no one can understand your purpose. By your mercy you are touching me, although this is not sanctioned by the Vedas. Purport. A sannyasi is strictly forbidden to see the Vishayas, the materialistic people, but Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu, out of his boundless and causeless mercy, could show favor to anyone regardless of birth and position. Verse 38. Ama nistarite tomar iha agaman param dayalu tumi patit pavan. You have come here specifically to deliver me. You are so merciful that you alone can deliver all fallen souls. Purport. Srila Narottam Das Thakur sings in his Prarthana 39, Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Daya Kara More Tuma Vina Ke Dayalu Jagat Samsare Patit Pavan Hetu Tava Avatar Mosam Patit Prabhu Na Paibe Ar. My dear Lord, please be merciful to me. Who can be more merciful than your Lordship within these three worlds? You appear as an incarnation just to reclaim the conditioned fallen souls. But I assure you that you will not find a soul more fallen than me. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's specific mission is to deliver fallen souls. Of course, in this age of Kali, there is hardly anyone who is not fallen according to the calculations of Vedic behavior. In his instructions to Rupa Goswami, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu described the so-called followers of Vedic religion in this way. This is the Madhya Lila, chapter 19, verse 146. Vedanishta madhe adheka Veda mukhe mane Veda nishidha papa kare dharma nahi gane. So-called followers of Vedic principles simply accept the Vedas formally, but they act against the Vedic principles. This is the symptomatic of this age of Kali. People claim to follow a certain type of religion, saying formally, I'm Hindu, I'm Muslim, I'm Christian, I'm this or that, but actually no one follows the principles enunciated in religious scriptures. This is the disease of this age. Therefore, the merciful Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu has simply advised us to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nam Eva Kevalam. The Lord can deliver anyone and everyone, even though one may have fallen from the injunctions of revealed scriptures. This is Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's special mercy. Consequently, he is known as Patit Pavan, the deliverer of all fallen souls. Verse 39. Mahant Swabhav e tarite pamar nij karya nahi tabu yan tar ghara. It is the general practice of all saintly people to deliver the fallen, therefore they go to people's houses although they have no personal business there. Purport. A sannyasi is supposed to beg from door to door. He does not beg simply because he is hungry. His real purpose is to enlighten the occupant of every house by preaching Krishna consciousness. A sannyasi does not abandon his superior position and become a beggar just for the sake of begging. Similarly, a person in householder life may be very important, but he may also voluntarily take to the mendicant way of life. Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami were ministers, but they voluntarily accepted the mendicant's life in order to humbly preach Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's message. It is said about them, Tyaktva Turnam Ashesha Mandalpati Shrenim Sadatuchavat Bhutva Dina Gane Shakau Karunya Kopina Kantha Shritau. Although the Goswamis were very aristocratic on the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they became mendicants just to deliver the fallen souls. One should also consider that those who engage in the missionary activities of Krishna consciousness movement are under the guidance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They are not actually beggars. Their real business is to deliver fallen souls. Therefore, they may go from door to door just to introduce a book about Krishna consciousness so that the people can become enlightened by reading. Formerly, brahmacharis and sannyasis used to beg from door to door. At the present moment, especially in the Western countries, a person may be handed over to the police if he begs from door to door. In Western countries, begging is considered criminal. Members of the Krishna consciousness movement have no business begging. Instead, they work very hard to introduce some literatures about Krishna consciousness so that the people can read them and be benefited. But if one gives some contribution to a Krishna conscious man, he never refuses it. Verse 40, Mahad Vichalanam Nrinam Grihnam Dina Chetasam Nishreyasya Saya Bhagwan Nanyatha Kalpate Kvachit. My dear Lord, sometimes great saintly persons go to the homes of householders. Although these householders are generally low-minded, when a saintly person visits their home, one can understand that it is for no other purpose than to benefit the householders. Purport. This verse is from Srimad Bhagavatam 10.8.4. Verse 41. Amar Sange Brahmanadi Sasreka Jana Tomar Darshane Sabar Dravi Bhut Mana. Along with me there are about 1,000 men, including the Brahmins, and all of them appear to have had their hearts melted simply by seeing you. Verse 42. Krishna Krishna Nama Shuni Sabar Vadane Sabar Ang Pulakita Ashru Nayane. I hear everyone chanting the holy name of Krishna. Everyone's body is thrilled with ecstasy and there are tears in everyone's eyes. Verse 43. Akritye Prakritye Tomar Ishwar Lakshana Jive Na Sambhave A Aprakrit Guna. My dear sir, according to your behavior and bodily features, you are the supreme personality of Godhead. It is impossible for ordinary living beings to possess such transcendental qualities. Purport. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's bodily features were uncommon indeed. His body was extraordinary in its measurements. The measurement of his chest and measurement of his forearms were the same. This is called Nyagrodha Parimandala. He was kind to everyone. No one but Supreme Personality of Godhead can be kind to everyone. Therefore, the Lord's name is Krishna, all attractive. As stated in the Bhagavad-Gita 14.4, Krishna is the kind father of everyone. In every species of life, Sarva Yonishu, he is the original father, the seed giver, Bij Pradhapita. How then can he be unkind to any living entity? One may be a man, an animal, or even a tree, but the Lord is kind to everyone. This is God's qualification. He also says in the Bhagavad Gita 9.29, Samo aham sarva bhuteshu, I am equally kind to everyone, and he advises Saradharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja, give up all the other engagements and simply surrender unto me. This instruction is meant not only for Arjun but for all living entities. Whoever takes advantage of this offer is immediately immune to all sinful activities and returns home back to Godhead. While present on this planet, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu made the same offer. Verse 44. Prabhu kahe tumi Mahabhagavat uttama tomar darshane sabar drava haila mana. The Lord replied to Rāmānanda, Rāya, sir, you are the best and the topmost devotees, therefore simply the sight of you has melted everyone's heart. Purport. Unless one is a first-class devotee, he cannot be a preacher. A preacher is generally a topmost devotee, but in order to meet the general populace, he has to distinguish between devotees and non-devotees. Otherwise, an advanced devotee makes no such distinctions. How indeed, he always sees that everyone is engaged in the service of the Lord. When one engages in preaching work, he must distinguish between people and understood that some people are not engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. The preacher then has to take compassion upon such innocent people who do not know how to worship the Lord. In Srimad Bhagavatam 11.2.45, the symptoms of a topmost devotees are described as follows. Sarv bhuteshu yah pashyed bhagavad bhavam atmanah bhutani bhagavati atmani esha bhagavato The advanced devotee sees that all living entities are part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everyone is in Krishna and Krishna is also within everyone. Such a vision is possible only for a person who is very advanced in devotional life, service. Verse 45, Anyera ki katha ami mayavadi Sannyasi Amya Tumar Sparshe Krishna Preme Bhasi. Although I am a Mayavadi sannyasi and non-devotee, I am also floating in the ocean of love of Krishna simply by touching you, and what to speak of others. Verse 46. Ejani Kathina Mora Hridaya Shodhite Sarvbhaum Kahilena Tumar Milite. Sava Bhattacharya knew this would happen, and thus to rectify my heart, which is very hard, he asked me to meet you. Verse 47, E matta dunhe stuti kare dunhar guna, dunhe dunhar darshane anandita mana. In this way, each of them praised the qualities of the other, and both of them were pleased to see each other. Verse 48, Hena kale vedika ek Vaishnav Brahmana dandavat kari kaila prabhure nimantrana. At this time, a Brahman Vaishnav following the Vedic principles came and offered obeisances. He fell flat before Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu and invited him for lunch. Verse 49, Nimantrana Manila Tandre Vaishnav Janiya Rāmānande Kahe Prabhu Ishat Hasiya. Lord Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu accepted the invitation, knowing the Brahman to be devotee, and slightly smiling, he spoke as follows to Rāmānanda. Rāya purpose, Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu accepted the invitation of Vaishnava Brahman, even though one is a Brahman, strictly following all the rules and regulations of Brahmanical culture. If he is not a devotee, a follower of Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu, one should not accept his invitation. At the present moment, people have become so degraded that they do not even follow the Vedic principles, to say nothing of Vaishnava principles. They eat anything and everything, whatever they like, and therefore the members of the Krishna consciousness movement should be very cautious about accepting invitations. Verse 50, Tumar mukhe Krishna katha shunite hai mana, punarapi paye yena tumara darshana. I wish to hear from you about Lord Krishna. Indeed, my mind is inclined to hear this. Therefore, I wish to see you again. Verses 51 and 52 are together. Rāya kahe aila yadi pamar shodhite darshan matre shuddha nahe mora dushta chitte dina pancha sat rahi karaha marjana tabe shuddha haya mora e dushta mana. Rāmānanda replied, My Lord, although you have come to correct me, a fallen soul, my mind is not yet purified by seeing you. Please stay for 5 or 7 days. Kindly cleanse my polluted mind. After that much time, my mind will certainly be pure. Verse 53, Yadyapi vicheda dunahara sahana nayaya tathapi dandavat kari chalila Ramaraya. Although neither could tolerate separation from the other, Rāmānanda Rāya nonetheless offered his obeisances to Lord Caitanya Mahāprabhu and departed. Verse 54, Prabhu yae se vipra ghare bhiksha kaila dui janar utkanthaye asi sandhya haila. Lord Caitanya Mahāprabhu then went to the house of Brahman who had invited him and took his lunch there. When the evening of that day arrived, both Rāmānanda Rāya and Lord were eager to meet each other again. Verse 55, Prabhu snana kritya kari achena vasiya eka bhritiya sange rai milila asiya. After finishing his evening bath, Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu sat down and waited for Rāmānanda Rāya to come. Then Rāmānanda Rāya, accompanied by one servant, come to meet him. Purport, a Vaishnava who is supposed to be advanced in spiritual understanding, be he a householder or sannyasi, must bathe 3 times a day, morning, noon and evening. When one is engaged in the service of the Lord, he must especially follow the principles of the Padma Puran and take regular baths. He should also, after bathing, decorate his body with the 12 tilaks. Verse 56. Namaskar kaila Rāya Prabhu kaila alingane dui jane Krishna katha kai raha sthane. Rāmānanda Rai approached Lord Chaitanya and offered his respectful obeisances, and Lord embraced him. Then they began to discuss Krishna in a secluded place. Purport: the word Rahaha Sthane is a secluded place, is very significant. Talks about Krishna and his pastimes, especially his pastimes in Vrindavan and his dealing with the gopis, are all very confidential. They are not subject matters for public discussion, because those who have no understanding of the transcendental nature of the Krishna's pastime always commit great offenses, thinking Krishna to be an ordinary human being and the gopis ordinary girls. Following the principle of Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu, who never discussed the dealings between Krishna and the gopis publicly, devotees in Krishna consciousness movement are enjoined not to discuss the pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan in public. For the general public, Sankirtan is the most effective method to awake Krishna consciousness. If possible, one should discuss the principles enunciated in the Bhagavad-Gita. Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu followed this principle very strictly and discussed the philosophy of the Bhagavad-Gita with learned scholars like Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Prakashananda Saraswati. However, he taught the principles of the Bhakti cult to students like Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami, and he discussed with Sri Rāmānanda Rai the topmost devotional dealings between Krishna and the gopis. For the general populace, he performed Sankirtan very rigorously. We must follow these principles in preaching Krishna consciousness all over the world. So we'll continue our reading from verse 57 of chapter 8 of the Madhya Lila of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita next time. Thank you for joining. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.